Hello and welcome to this episode of Beyond the 3D. My name is Michael J. Russ. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to be talking about negativity, all matters of how to get rid of it, how to eliminate it from your life. Now, my last episode, which was an unscripted episode called How to Live Life by Design, has been very well received, and I do appreciate the golden feedback that I've received about the episode. If you want to really design your life, you have to design negativity out of your life. It's an aspect of it. And there's negativity, the way you feel, the way you perceive negativity. We're going to talk about that today, and I'm going to give you a quick little formula that I always keep in mind when it comes to how I'm perceiving things and making sure that I'm seeing things that happen as opportunities versus problems. And negativity, how to get rid of it, how to deal with it, is always one of my favorite topics. Because, as you know, I do everything that I talk about. I participate in it. In the last 35 years, I have finally honed my mastery of my inner conversation by not saying anything negative about myself. That's an aspect when you're negative to yourself, towards yourself. There's negativity towards outside events. And I've learned to step back and see the macro of things, see the big picture, the wider picture. It's really what I'm referring to when I say that. Because we get into the weeds. When something happens, we get into the how and the why, and all the thought viruses that we have been told in our lives. Actually, when things happen to us personally, we're very susceptible, I should say, to thought viruses. And thought viruses breed negativity. They are negative in their essence. They're negative, but they continue to breed further negativity. It's sort of compounding the whole situation, and so negativity and all matter of is something that you have to manage and control. Make sure that you're exposing yourself to less and less of it. Your happiness depends upon it. It really does. Your happiness depends upon whether you can get a grip on your perceptions about negativity. Now, if you want to be happy, fulfilled, successful, loving, relational, and at peace with your inner world and outer world, eliminating negativity, all matter of, from your life, from your experience of life, will always be one of your greatest challenges in order to be those things. My intent with this episode is to shift your thought paradigm about negativity so you can significantly reduce your experience of it. And that's really what I'm talking about. And it's so easy nowadays. And I was looking back through my podcast episodes and the number of downloads, and what's interesting is one of the episodes that have received the most downloads, and I knew they really would, were the first one was the one about George Floyd back in May that I did last year, how to approach that issue, and some different ideas about how you could deal with racism and how you should see it as not something that's other people's problems, but see it as something that you inside need to shift and change your perceptions about racism, and so that the outside, we always have to work on the inside. If we want the outside, our outside world to change, we have to work on ourselves from within. That's where the work happens. That's where the work is, because you're not going to change or control anything outside of you. You have ultimate control over what goes on inside of you, your thoughts, words, feelings, and responses or actions to what you experience on a day-to-day basis. And I know this might seem overly simplified. However, when you start tying your happiness and your fulfillment and joy, the love you feel for yourself and other people, and how at peace you are with your inner and outer world, when you start tying that to your perceptions about what's going on outside of you, your life is going to change in absolutely amazing, even magical ways. Weights will be lifted from your shoulders, and you'll begin to see what you have not seen before, feel what you have not felt before, if not more of it. Everybody's felt joy and happiness. We've all experienced it at some particular point. Success, we've felt fulfilled by something that we've done, something that we've completed perhaps. Heck, I get joy and fulfillment just by vacuuming the house because I love how it looks, how it feels when I'm done. We have a corgi that sheds 365, so I love getting that dog hair off the floor. And I love getting down with her and playing with her on the floor after I've done it. I know I'm not getting her hair all over me and my hair and everywhere else. It's a joyful thing having a little corgi. She's amazing. Now, the first thing you want to understand is that negativity is not a thing. It's an experience. An experience you create by how you're perceiving your life circumstances and yourself. The perceptions you have about yourself, things, information, people, events, and circumstances. Now, as I've always said, what's great about perceptions is that they're one of the things you do have control over. You can control them. One of the things a couple of episodes I talked about, controlling or not controlling. Actually, it was last episode. I talked about what you can control and what you can't control. Negativity is something you have complete and utter control over because it's how it's in your mind, it's in your head. How you're perceiving circumstances and events and people. So here is what you want to be mindful of as you dance your way through life. The more attention and effort you dedicate to managing what you can control, as I mentioned before, thoughts, feelings, words, and actions, the happier and more satisfied you will be with yourself and your life. One of the automatic benefits of carefully focusing on what you can control is that your resulting positive feelings will boost your vibrational frequency and attract people and circumstances which correspond in kind, that correspond with your vibration. Love, of course, being the highest vibrational frequency. Happiness, joy, of course, after that, fulfillment, compassion, love, empathy, kindness. Those are high operating frequencies, okay? And those are what you really want, I hope, to experience more of in your life. It's amazing to feel joyful, to just dance around and enjoy life. And when you can do that in the midst of chaos, you know you've mastered your own mind. A good friend of mine who listens to my podcast, called me an alchemist, and I've referred to myself as that many times, and it's because my mission is to help you transform by the actions, the experiential wisdom, by sharing the experiential wisdom that I have developed over the past 35, 36 years. I'm just like you. I'm not some kind of guru. I'm not above you. I'm not below you. I'm your equal. And it doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, how much money you have or don't have, the status you have in life. That's just superficial window dressing. I know people who have tons of money and no common sense, no love, no compassion, no empathy, no kindness. It's all about greed and fear of not having enough. So they work themselves to the bone and they don't experience the joy. They don't share relationally with other people. They don't connect relationally with other people on a level that allows them to experience joy and happiness, real joy and fulfillment and success, because they're too busy chasing their own tail. And when you're too busy, other things in your life, there's no balance. Other things in your life really fall apart. I want to give you an example of what I'm talking about by the automatic benefit of elevating your vibrational frequency. And I thought about this in writing this particular piece. When you stop resisting or fighting against change because you've chosen to perceive change as an opportunity as opposed to a problem, the resulting transformation from negative to positive thoughts, feelings, inner conversations, and responses will boost your frequency and start attracting the people and circumstances required to adapt and succeed in the face of what is changing. Now think about this for a second. Last year, 2020, as I'm recording this is, my gosh, the 6th of February, for cripe's sakes. 6th of February, first month of 2021 is already gone. That's amazing. Change was afoot in 2020, and it will continue to be afoot in 2021. Economically, things changed. Socially, things changed. From a health perspective, things changed. That's what happens. It was coming in spades last year. And a lot of people got left behind. They couldn't deal with it. And I have referred to it before, and I'll do it again, as a cosmic 2x4. Last year was about changing you. Not your outside, so much your outside circumstances, but you, your perception of yourself in your life. It was an opportunity to reconnect with people close to you in your own household because you've been out running too much, leaving early, coming home late. Now you're working from home. Now your kids are home if you have children. They're studying from home. Or maybe now they're not studying from home, but they're back in school again, but you're still at home working. If you've got a significant other, maybe they're at home working with you. And I hope you saw it as an opportunity, took the time perhaps to take time out and connect with them. Not just go into your separate offices and start and working and do the work that you needed to do. Now, from a business perspective, I've spoken with companies. The productivity from people working from home has been really, really good, and it saved them a lot of money in rent. And they've realized, oh my gosh, we don't need these people to come to an office every day to be effective, to be efficient, productive. And their corporate sales have gone through the roof. Maybe because people, when they're at home, they have more interconnection and relational connection with those people around them. They have more time. They don't have to get on a freeway and get frustrated, make themselves frustrated for an hour to get to work or even more. They can get up and they can have some time to connect and interact with their family and create some balance there. You're working a whole new routine. Of course, I'm talking to one segment of the population. There are those of you, of course, who might be listening to this podcast who lost your job, who got furloughed. And the opportunity there is to reassess your own health and your own lifestyle and to assess whether the work you were doing is still the work that brings you joy and fulfillment. Maybe it was an opportunity to go out and get a separate kind of job to pay the bills if that was something that you needed to do, and to meet and connect with somebody who could help you move your life to a whole new level. Because there are no accidents, there are no coincidences. And when you go through life keeping that in mind, you look at the people that you meet differently, even if you just connect with them for a moment. I always ask people, what do you do? Why do you have that smile on your face? Why do you have that frown on your face? Ask. They may have a problem that you can help solve. They may be able to help you solve your problem. That's the way it is. I remember something someone once said to me. They said, you are what you think about most. And if what you think about most is fear, then your life and feelings will be ruled by fear. Your thoughts will be ruled by fear. And the consequences of experiencing and the consequences that go along with experiencing that vibrational frequency, at lower frequency of fear, worry, frustration, anger, despondence, being in despair. That's what you attract. You get what you think about most. Think about that. As a sovereign human being, it's up to you to really remain fully aware of your right to choose your perceptions and thus the way you feel in any given moment. This is the crux. You got to always be alert to how you're perceiving things that are going on in your life. If you walk out the front door and perceive it as an absolutely awesome day, even when it's raining cats and dogs, the feelings will correspond with that perception. You'll see different things because now you'll see the beauty in the rain, the sound as it hits the ground. If there's thunder, you'll be wowed by the lightning that occurs and be thinking about how long it takes to hear the sound, to give you a sense of how far away it is. Think about the opposite of that. If you go, oh gosh, it's another rainy day, it's ridiculous, you'll never hear the sound. You won't focus on the lightning. I stood out my back door. There was I think it was after a hurricane that came, a light hurricane that hit not the Panhandle, but what we call the Big Bend area of Florida, because we have a bend area where we go from northwest to central and down. And I got video, actually. It was at night, and this occurs here every once in a while here on the Panhandle. I used to have a place down on the across the street from the beach, and I could stand on my third floor and see the beach on my third floor balcony. And it's from my window, and I would go out there on a summer, like an August or July or August evening. It would be warm, humid, and out on the water would be these lightning strikes in the clouds. And it was as if somebody was flashing on and off, hitting the light switch on and off, on and off. And every once in a while you saw the actual lightning come down out of the clouds, through the silhouette of the clouds. And I was on my back porch one day after a hurricane on the Big Bend area, and I was just awed by what looked just this one. It was so far away you couldn't hear the thunder cracking. What you saw was in the eastern sky, which is where the storm had passed through, was these wonderful flashes of lightning strafing across the sky, going, perpendicular, horizontal. It was going everywhere. And it was a spectacular show, and I just couldn't stop standing on my back porch watching this happen. And like I said, I shot some video of it somewhere on my iPhone. And like I said, there are little joys in life that you'll find when your mind and your perception of what's going on is opportunistic in nature. A formula which came to mind as I was writing this, that I have been using for some period of time, I think will help you to transform your life to the point where you eliminate negativity, the experience of it, because that's really what we're talking about, is an experience of it. And that formula is event plus perception equals feelings. Pretty simple. Event plus perception equals feelings. Events occur, things happen, we all know that. And your initial perceptions of these events set the stage for the stream of thoughts, ongoing self-talk, feelings, and responses that you have about the event. Your life is an unending mix of events and circumstances from beginning to end. That's what life is. As I've said before, tying this together, the events, it's important to see these events as opportunities. If you, as those events occurring specifically for you, so you can learn something, so you can transform and evolve as a result of those events. There are small events, there are large events, of course. The large ones are few and far between, the big events in our lives. However, the little events that occur, think about as you go through the next day and events happen around you, and people, you interact with people, you meet people, whatever. Pay attention, pay very close attention to how you're perceiving your interactions, how you're perceiving the events that occur. From the time you get into a car, do you perceive driving somewhere as a big pain in the rear? If so, your perception, your experience of driving is going to be vastly different than someone who doesn't, who sees being in the car, driving on a whatever kind of day it is, as an opportunity to to see something, to notice something, to look out for the beauty in the surroundings that you're driving through and the experience that you're having. Instead of focusing on the driver who is always hitting their brakes in front of you, seems to be on their cell phone in doing that. Usually when I pass somebody, that's exactly what's happening. They're hitting the brakes just indiscriminately. They're trying to text, or they're trying to read a text, or they're trying to do something. You can see them looking at their phone. I just let it go by. I just go by them. I have control, complete control of my car, so I just go by them. I know what's going on. I know who's behind me. I know who's to the right of me, to the left of me. I know I can see in my rearview mirror if someone is coming up behind me at an excessive rate of speed. I might be listening to music, or I might be listening to something else, an audiobook, whatever it is, but I'm still looking around me. I'm still aware of what's happening. Who's on the side of the road? Who's not? Someone walking somewhere. Driving is a perceptual event. Now, I've encouraged you many times, as I've said, to interpret events as opportunities for personal growth that can help you evolve more consciously as a more aware person. A more aware person tomorrow than you are today. Now, the second element in this formula, perception. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that I kind of beat that drum really hard. I must have said perception already at least 100 times. So you're well aware of the importance of the word perception. Man, I'm telling you, I've said it about 50 times and I'll say it again. If you want to change the way you feel in any given moment, change the way you're perceiving your circumstances. That's all you have to do. And if you sit back and you say, it's hard to do that, it's difficult, it's impossible, then you are operating from thought viruses. It's not hard, tough, impossible, unless you say it is. And again, those words are perceptions. Again, you already have that you're compounding. The event happened. You already perceived it as negative. Now you're going to perceive your response through it as being hard, tough, or difficult. You're setting the stage for another layer of negativity, another layer of negative feelings, shutting down creativity, shutting down inspiration that could help you move through it. At the barn, I can tell you the story. At the barn, I went to the barn with my girlfriend this morning. She's got 4 horses in the barn. She cleans them every morning, blows the aisles, puts down shavings, feeds them hay. Okay, it's a routine. Every single morning except one during the week when somebody else gives her a break first thing in the morning, usually on Sundays. And in her horse's stall, the automatic watering feeder, it was leaking. It would drip, 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 drip. And I had been wanting to intuit a solution to this problem for the last year. There's a bucket. We put a bucket under it, okay, a larger bucket so water could drip into it, and we just dump the bucket. That's great, but that's not a great long-term solution. And all of a sudden, it just came to me. I said, wow, got to get a corbel. I can get a corbel, and I can attach the corbel to the wall, and the top of the corbel would support the water feeder. You see, because the horse kept pushing down into the feeder and got it to the point where it wasn't level anymore. And the water it was automatically coming in, and it was dripping, 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 dripping into this bucket. So everything around it was wet for months. And I'm like, how come I couldn't intuit a solution to this problem? Did last week, bought the corbel, installed it this morning. Amazing. All I had to do was provide a support for it. Now, who would have thought of a corbel? I mean, I don't know. I had thought of a couple of other things ahead of a corbel that would do the same thing, but the corbel was easy. And how many times do you actually have a situation or problem and you perceive it as something terrible? And again, inspiration and creativity are tied to positive thinking. Hence the power of positive thinking. It's pretty darn amazing when you can think positively about a negative, which you perceive as a negative situation, because again, negativity is a perception. Things change. You open pathways to creativity, to the inspiration you need to solve the problem. You just have to see it as a problem, a challenge that needs solving, instead of just branding it as bad or ugly or whatever you brand it as a perception, whatever the negativity that you have, right? Event plus perceptions equals feelings. This formula can help you manage your feelings throughout the day to ultimately eliminate the negativity from your life altogether. When you see negativity as a perception, you know you have control over how you experience whatever's happening. Someone says something to you that you take in the wrong manner because past experience or a thought virus is what you're operating from. How many times does that happen? I'm African American. Someone comes up to me, or if someone yells the N-word from me from a car passing by, why should I get upset about it? They don't know me from Adam. What they see is a suit of clothes. I'm African American. That's the suit of clothes that I happen to be wearing. They don't know me intimately, personally. So why should I get upset? I don't even know them. It's just something that happens. Whether I give it a label as good or bad is completely and totally up to me. So I don't. It's just like, hey, I'm not going to invest the time, the energy, or the emotional frequency decline in things that occur, especially when directed towards me by somebody I don't respect, I don't know. The goal of this formula that I've just given to you, event plus perception equals feelings. The goal of it is not to make yourself an emotional drone. That's not the goal. It's not the mission. When applied effectively, the formula enables you to positively approach and transcend, or rise above, because that's what transcend means, rise above events and circumstances through personal sovereignty. And in doing so, you'll see the good in bad, turn lemons into lemonade, and transform lead into gold every single time. It's simple. Teach it to your kids. Event plus perception equals feelings. If your deepest desire is to feel more happiness, joy, love, fulfillment throughout the day, then you must be willing to elevate your self-awareness to the point where you recognize initial and negative perceptions and transform them before they contaminate your feelings and manifest a reality that is completely opposite of what you desire. Pay attention. So here's the secret sauce, right? As I said earlier, the secret sauce that makes the whole thing work is your right, your sovereign right to control every perception. So each morning, just examine what you do every morning right now. And we all have a routine. My routine kind of is general but varies. I work from my home. So I design my morning so that when I sit down at my desk, I'm already in an inspirational, creative mindset. I haven't contaminated my brain with a bunch of garbage. I might expose myself to some things that I could possibly perceive as negative, however, I do not perceive them as negative. I hope that makes sense to you, because how I perceive what I expose myself to in the morning is up to me. I attempt to meditate every single day, sit quietly, focus my thoughts on how I visualize my day, I use a little imagination. What if? Imagine myself already having experienced the kind of day that I really desire to experience. How would I feel? I feel that way right now. And all too often, I witness people sucked into the void of negativity without realizing that they are its creator. That they are the ones who are choosing the perceptions that are leading them to feel the way they do. So again, I ask you to closely examine your morning routine, which pretty much sets your attitude going forward for the day. You have been empowered to carefully curate each thought, feeling, self-talk conversation in response to what you experience. So use this power in every moment to feel amazing. You curate the feeling of amazing. It just doesn't happen by happenstance. It just doesn't pop up here and there. Design the way you feel. Design it. Feel awesome, energetic, inspired, ready to take on whatever is thrown at you. Ready to see it in a positive way as an opportunity to overcome, to expand your experiential wisdom. Make positivity your mission and turn your attitude into your greatest ally for happiness and success. If the first thing you do in the morning is turn on the news or read the paper, don't for a week. You're not going to become, you're not going to be less educated. You're not going to be less smart than you are now. Just don't do it for a week. Do something else. Save the negativity that you're going to experience through that, the contamination of your mind, for some other point in time. Not because you don't want to know what's going on in the world, but because you want to establish a strong beginning to your day, a strong attitude. You wake up feeling amazing. Why ruin it? The media feeds on negativity. It's all contrived in order to create a narrative for you that day. That's what they do. Ask anyone in the news business. That's what they do. A newspaper editor and their staff, they sit around. What are we going to do tomorrow? What are we going to focus on? What's going to be the lead story? What are we going to put on the front of the thing? What picture is what's going to grasp people's attention? We want them to buy these papers. We want them to listen to this, to watch this program and listen to and turn off there and go to their XM radio and listen to us in the car on the way to work. We want their attention. We want their full attention. How do they get that? It's not by telling you the most amazing inspirational story that they came across that day. That will make you feel good. However, it's not going to it's not going to take hold of your emotions, take control of your emotions. It's not going to do that. That's what media does. So you have to be very mindful of what you're allowing into your mind every single morning. Your attitude is your greatest ally. It always is. It's not a stretch to do this. It's not a stretch to focus on something positive, to not engage with the media or any other negative influences, outside influences on a daily basis. No, it's not. As I point out in my book, Zero Adversity, you experience two kinds of events in your life. Those that involve you personally and those that do not. The vast majority of what you have total control over are the events that do not impact you personally. Those are events that you learn about through conversations with people, through interaction with outside influences like news and media, paper, social media, whatever it may be. What you might not realize is that the majority of these events, these outside events, indirect events, don't involve you personally. You exert all kinds of control over that, and that is what you want to do. Start exerting that control over what's outside of you. And nowadays, we've got a couple of generations, you might be one of them, that are very much into social media, which can be, I don't want to say perceptually good or bad. All I say is that social media is something that it's designed to be an addiction. It's designed to be not such a good thing for you. Because when you get addicted to content, likes, and that sort of thing, you have to ask yourself, what's my motivation for doing what I'm doing? And if you're on social media looking to feel good about yourself, better about yourself, by posting content that engages people or touches people, and you're relying on the responses from your content to feel good about yourself, you need to take a step back. You don't need something outside of you, somebody else's opinion of you, to feel good about who you are. Because if you do, then that means when someone doesn't respond or has a negative opinion of what you posted, it's going to impact you personally in the way that you feel about yourself. That's allowing somebody else to control you, some outside influence to control you, how you feel about yourself, because you're perceiving that as negative. I hope you understand that. And I'm assuming that happiness is your constant goal, because, happiness should be your mission. And your mission is to master the art of adopting positive perceptions of events and circumstances. That's how you obtain happiness, joy, and fulfillment all the time. It's a great feeling to go through the day happy, joyful, letting the stuff, outside influences and people just bounce off you like water off a duck's back. Make yourself impervious, I should say, not bulletproof, but impervious to the experience of negativity because of what's going on in your mind. Outside influences can easily commandeer the direction of your thoughts and feelings and inner conversations and responses, actions that you take, which displaces happiness and puts you in an emotional disadvantage. And it's not a fun way to live. It's not a fun way to start your day. It's not a fun way to do anything. It really isn't. And I think you know that. Innately, you understand that. I don't care what's going on. You get up in the morning, you have no job to go to because you've been laid off. What is your perception of your life? What is your perception of you? Hopefully, that you're not a bad person. You have no control over whether your company laid you off. What you do have control over is what you do now. What you do as a result. You dive into something that can really help you. You dive into something that can help educate you, give you a better leg up in life. You see it as an opportunity to read that amazingly positive book with lots of informational thoughts and circumstances, or do you mope? Do you kick yourself around, beat yourself up for having chosen that career path, having gone to school and gotten that degree and said yes to that company? There are all kinds of things that you can do that can put you in a positive state of mind, that can elevate your frequency. And since you have the ability to choose what you expose you to each morning, why not begin your day with something that makes you feel happy, grateful, loved, satisfied, successful, fulfilled? Work out. Here's some suggestions. I just kind of jotted these down. Work out. Read an inspiring passage in a book. Watch an inspirational program. Read a magazine that focuses on uplifting or life-affirming stories, like The Optimist. There's a newsletter called The Optimist. Check it out. Lots of positive stories about things that people are doing around the world. It just culls the internet for the really good stuff. Things that are helping the planet, things that are helping people. It's an amazing newsletter to read in the morning. It's got 4 or 5 stories every morning. Express your love to your children and tell them that their only limitations are the ones they place on themselves. Write down the 5 things you feel most grateful for every morning when you get up. Look in the mirror and tell yourself you're a beautiful, passionate, loving, and giving person, that you're kind, empathetic, compassionate. Heck, just tell yourself I love you. Hey, look in the mirror and say, I love you. It's interesting because, I say this because there was a therapist who found that was the most challenging thing for people to do. And like 80% of her clients couldn't just do that. They couldn't just look in the mirror and say, I love you. They were that disgusted with themselves. They had beat themselves to a pulp mentally. And thought viruses are at work with all of that. At some particular point in the past, somebody told you weren't worth anything. Somebody told you couldn't do anything. Somebody told you if you did this, that will happen. That bad thing will happen. And you did that thing. And something happened along those lines. So now, I'm going to beat myself up about this forever. Watch a portion of your favorite uplifting program or movie as you prepare breakfast. Give your significant other a minute longer hug than you normally do. Whisper something wonderful in their ear. Perform a simple act of kindness for them or your children. If you are working and your significant other is not, and they're getting up and they're taking care of you, get up and take care of them. Give them breakfast in bed before you go to work. Give them their favorite coffee or tea. And something positive to read. Do something for them that they wouldn't necessarily be doing for themselves because their mind is somewhere else. You'll love it. They'll love it. It'll re-spark your relationship. All those things. Swap around your routine. Eliminate those things that contaminate your thinking. It's your life. And a number of things that you can do in the morning to give yourself that lift, to make you feel alive, magnificent as you approach the day. It's amazing. They're infinite. When you set the intention to do something that makes you feel awesome, you set the stage for an amazing day, regardless of how it unfolds. Of course, whether you maintain that positivity is also something you choose, based on what I've been saying up to this point. Early in my commissioned career in the sales field, one of my greatest epiphanies was realizing that the direct connection between my attitude, productivity, and prosperity. My attitude was everything. And when I realized that, I started nurturing my attitude. I would get up at 5:30 in the morning. I'd meditate for 45, 50 minutes. I would feel amazing. Absolutely amazing. I would sit there. Sometimes I'd just imagine. I would just imagine my day. Imagine it being the success that I knew it could be. This is before I became much more successful and had the connections with clients that I do today. When you work for a paycheck each month, regardless of how you feel about yourself and the world around you, you still get paid. I see that as a disadvantage. You know, a lot of people say, I couldn't do what you do. I couldn't get up in the morning and not know if I could make any money that day or that month or that year. I've been doing it for 36 years. Of course you can. You lay the seeds. You lay the foundation. You nurture the seeds. Water them. And this is through relational connection, belief in yourself. You nurture your mind. You feed your mind. That's how you get it done. I take vacations. I take off whenever I want. I'll go play golf at 10 o'clock if somebody calls. As long as I know that I've done everything that I want to do that day. If I have an inspirational thought, a creative thought, and I'm working that thought, I'll say no to golf. I'm working that thought. I'm working it. I'm working my plan. I'm working what I visualized. I'll wake up in the morning and things just I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. That's when I write a podcast. I've got many topics to work on. I'll sit down and meditate for a little bit and see which one culls in my mind and then start writing. Jot down some notes and get busy. That's what I do. the spark of creativity and inspiration really occurs when you're quiet. It has to have space to evolve. Space. If you're always running around, you're never going to have that epiphany. Never is a big word, of course, because you could. However, if you really want to control the process, you must allow the space for the inspiration and creativity to occur. You must allow the space to think. Who's that? Warren Buffett, one of the most richest men in the world. He spends 80% of his day thinking, sitting in a chair thinking. He has a notepad. He's thinking about things, thinking about the macro of his business, of life, of the world. Intuiting trends, thinking about the flow, the ebb and flow of life and business and where things go and he reads. And the reading sparks more thought, more thinking. I've adopted this experiential wisdom of his. And I do spend a lot of time thinking throughout the day. Sometimes I don't write down a list of 15 things that need to get done. Most days I don't. It's a function of I let the day unfold. I set the tone for the day, a positive tone for the day, and I let the day unfold. Now, yesterday, I was on my way to Lowe's to get a device that I'm going to use as part of a workout. And you'd never guess what this device was, but it was sparked by something somebody said 25 years ago to me. Actually, more than 25 years ago. I think it was like 30. An isometric form of workout. But here's the thing, and I had already set the stage for this and had been thinking about this. It had popped into my mind a few days ago, and it just never left. That thought about getting this device never left. So I'm on my way to Lowe's, and I'm halfway to Lowe's, and my battery light comes on my car. The little red battery light starts flashing, and I'm like, what the heck is that? So instead of going to Lowe's, I drove right by Lowe's and went right to my mechanic. I left my car there. Later in the day, I find out I've gone through literally 3 alternators in 2 years, going through my 4th. Don't understand why the alternators keep going bad on me. All I know is they keep giving my money back for the alternator, and I keep getting charged for 2 hours of labor to put a new one in. And on top of that, I said, hey, while you're at it, take a look at my brakes. So 10 minutes later in a conversation later in the day, I find out it's going to cost me $587 for my car on Monday morning. Fine. I don't have a car payment. I paid my car off 8 years ago. So I'm going to have to put a little maintenance into the vehicle. I'm a convertible guy. I love my Lexus convertible, I call it my little turtle because that's kind of what it looks like. It's got great lines. It has a hard top that goes into the trunk when I want to drive with no top. It's awesome. I love the car. I feel great. I feel as if my dad can ride next to me. My best friend, Davis, my best friend, Mike, I can call them all and say, hey, let's go take a ride down the road. I'm going to take a top down. Plenty of room for you to hang out with me. My good friends. All right, I digressed there for a moment. I got to tell you, when you solely work on commission, like I have been, your attitude is your most important ally. It plays the most crucial role in every aspect of your success because you wear your attitude like a suit of clothes that everyone can see and feel. I should probably do a whole podcast just on that. Under these circumstances, negativity, when your attitude and your feelings, your perceptions are out there, when you experience them, you're wearing them like a suit of clothes. When you perceive something as negative, it shows up in your body language and your tone of your voice, the look on your face. Negativity is a liability for me that I cannot afford. Literally can't afford it. And you can't afford it either if happiness, fulfillment, success, and joy are on the line for you, if they're main goals for you this year, to experience more happiness, more love, more joy. Have you ever thought about the fact that everybody wants to be with somebody who's happy? Everybody wants to be with someone who's happy. It's infectious. Happy, joyful, feeling fulfilled about yourself. You have a good self-perception, then other people, they gravitate towards that. They do. They come to you. If I haven't been clear enough about what I'm saying, let me put it another way. When you control your perceptions, you control your exposure to and your experience of negativity. That's it. People, events, and circumstances that occur to and outside of you, directly or indirectly, no longer have the control over you that they used to. They don't have control over the way you feel. That's your domain. As an alchemist yourself, that is your domain. Your constant mission is to continually transform. Everybody has negative initial emotions, negative perceptions. Everybody has them initially, even me. My first thought about the car, oh gosh, not again. It's going to cost me something. I just wonder how much, and let's hope it's not too bad. Just drive the guy, you just give them to him. Hey, how you doing? Say hi to the person behind the counter. Yeah, I'm here again. Here's what's going on. Thanks. Just let me know what's going on. Call my girlfriend, get a ride home. I'm done. No longer thinking about it that day until I call him. I'm not going to allow my car, an inanimate object, vibrating in an extremely low level, as atoms. I'm not going to allow this automobile to dictate the course of my day. Came back, finished writing this podcast, gave it a lot of thought, decided to record it on Saturday morning, which is what I'm doing right now. You're not going to no longer feel sadness. It's not as if you're not going to feel sadness or grief or hopelessness or frustration or resentment or worry and such. It's not that if you use the event plus perception equals feelings formula to move through your day. You're not eliminating sadness, grief, anger, and frustration or worry and such. You're going to have those initially. You're going to have those feelings because it's likely you're going to perceive something that's occurring as negative. But you will limit the course of these feelings because you understand the role in why you feel the way you do. You understand, oh, good. It's not that you're going to get rid of these things. It's that you are going to more quickly, more rapidly transform how you feel by instantaneously going to why, oh, wait a minute, I recognize, I'm alert, I'm aware of the fact that I'm feeling this way. Boom, my perception of this is this way. I'm going to change my perception. I'm going to step outside of this and shift my perception. Bang. You do that, everything else changes for you. Exerting this kind of power can be transformative and life-altering. The main point I want to make, empowering, self-empowering, and life-altering. Because there is a literal tsunami of events and information coming at you every single day. You know that, I know that. You have control over what the path of those into your mind is. And I'm going to tell you 4 really quick moves that you can apply to decrease your experience of negativity. I know I've gone on for about 54 minutes here, but I hope you've got it. I hope you have. Now, number 1, be receptive to the existence of positive perceptions of events and circumstances. Be receptive to the fact that there can be a positive take, an opportunity in whatever it is, the good and bad, that there's good in the bad, right? That's what I'm talking about. There's always good and bad. You have to look for it. May have to look a little deeper in some cases. However, it's there. Number 2, disconnect from the sources responsible for driving negative perceptions of yourself and your life. If your significant other, if you perceive your significant other is falling into this category, shift your perception of your significant other. Work on that. That's what you have to do. Drop the negative perceptions, see them as a different person. The longer you're with someone, the more perceptions you have about them, negative or positive. Unfortunately, We as human beings tend to focus on the negative side of them, the negative perceptions of people. That's what we do. So I call it, they leave the cap of the toothpaste off every single time, every morning after they brush their teeth. They leave the container and the toothpaste cap sitting right next to it. They never put it back on. If that drives you crazy, and that's the one thing you focus on about them, your perception is driven from that, you're not going to feel too good about them. When you get together with them, you give them a hug, you're going to be tempted to say, darn it, you left that stinking thing off again. I can't stand that. It drives me crazy. Just put it back on and keep moving on. It's not a big deal. Take control of the sources of information you expose yourself to. Remember indirect events. All those things that happen outside of you are well within your control. And you even control the things that happen to you directly, mentally. You do that, right? Be willing to limit or eliminate access to people and information that resonate on a negative vibrational level. You are who you associate with and expose yourself to. That's what you are. And if you want to elevate your frequency, elevate your self-awareness, expose yourself to people and circumstances that are operating already at that frequency. Learn from them. Now, don't be fooled. The information you receive from all sources of news and social media isn't always positive. Already said that. Number 3, remember your sovereign right to dictate your perceptions. Enough said. Take responsibility. Be a responsible person. Take responsibility for your thinking and the feelings that you're having as a result of that thinking. Be fully aware of how your feelings are ultimately impacted by what you're experiencing around you. And number 4, be willing to transform initial negative perceptions as soon as you realize you have them. I think I just mentioned that a moment ago. You have to, immediately. Embrace your innate authority and sovereignty to transform your thinking, your perceptions. Those, especially those that fail to support your goals for happiness, fulfillment, prosperity, compassion, and unconditional love, kindness, all those things. Besides, an event or circumstance is always just that until you perceive it as otherwise, until you label it as one thing or judge it one way or another. Resist the labeling and the judgment. The less negative perceptions you covet, the happier you are. That's my golden rule. The less negative perceptions you covet, the happier you are. Now let these 4 moves allow you to fully take control of your thoughts, feelings, and responses of people and events from within, because that's what you're doing. You're controlling the outside reality, how you feel about the outside reality of your life from within. You're not letting something outside of you control the way you feel. You have the right to control your feelings. The distinction of inside-outside may at first be a bit thin. However, it does make complete sense when you start to apply it. How many times have you negatively reacted to people and events out of habit or familiarity, or perhaps even because of an embedded thought virus that you didn't recognize or realize at the moment? I've witnessed people who were unable to shake perceptions of being wronged by someone or something earlier in their life. I know people who you wrong them once in some way, and they'll never, ever forgive you. They'll always have a negative perception of you. They'll never allow you to evolve. That perception will stick forever. And that's a shame, because people do evolve. People do change once they have elevated their conscious awareness of themselves and taken control of their own sovereignty. It does happen. I have seen that as well. Whenever you experience deep-seated negativity about an event and wish you did not, train yourself to re-examine your thinking surrounding what happens and be willing to make that change. I know it seems like I'm beating a drum. I've always talked about, the perception of things. If Thomas Edison, after 999 9,999 attempts had adopted the perception that the invention of the light bulb wasn't possible, it would have been years later before someone else succeeded in making it a reality. I say years, it could have been months, it could have been days, because there's simultaneous creativity occurring all the time. The only thing separating you, who has accomplished something great, from someone who is not, all talents and skills being equal, is generally the unwavering perception that you could. Let me say that again. You put 5 athletes of equal talent together in the same room, and it all boils down to the mental side of the game. Always the mental. Who has doubts about themselves and what they're capable of, and who doesn't? Who has an unwavering perception that they can accomplish their goal? Unwavering being the key word here. Now, I've just laid out a roadmap in this hour. I've laid out a roadmap that can help you break free of negative feelings. Whether you use it or not is completely up to you. Whether you lose pieces and parts of it, that's fine. Take from it what you can. But put my suggestions to use and see how you feel. Go back and revisit events that have made a measurable impression on the way you feel, and see if there's a way that you can adopt a positive or even neutral perception of what took place. And pay close attention to how you feel going forward. This is the self-transformational process. Be willing to go back and visit a circumstance, even one that in your mind has left a horrific impression. And take a look at the person you are today and how you were shaped by that event, and and just kind of see how you can perceive that in a different way, and apply gratitude and forgiveness and some of the other alchemy tools that I've talked about in the past, the tools of alchemy, personal alchemy, and to help you shift your perception of it. It's just something that happened. It's if you could forget yesterday, you'd be absolutely the most amazing person in the world, because you'd be approaching today with new vim, new vigor. If you allow yesterday to infect today, to contaminate today, that's the travesty in life. That is the travesty. Now, that's it for now. Thank you so much for your patience, and thank you very much for taking the time your valuable time to listen to this podcast, and for sharing it with those you know who can benefit from it. It means a lot to me that you would consider this podcast valuable enough to not only listen to, but to pass on. Aside from expressing my gratitude to those of you who are downloading this podcast, the majority of you from the United States, I want to definitely give a shout out to those consistent listeners from Russia, Belgium, Ireland, Germany, Australia, Mexico, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom for listening, for downloading the podcast. I really hope that what you're hearing is helping you be a better person tomorrow than you are today. Live a happier life than you did yesterday. Eliminate some of the thinking that has been holding you back. Because generally, like I said, when it comes down to it, brass tacks and wooden nickels, it's generally your thinking that's holding you back. What you believe about yourself and what you believe you are capable of accomplishing, doing, feeling. Until next time, be safe, be well, wear a mask until this madness is over, and make the most of every single moment. Bye-bye.